Hello again! We're back with an old favourite of the show, Stephanie Brown, to show you what's really going on behind that mask and sunny disposition. This post did numbers on Tumblr, but let's see if you noble denizens of YouTube can match them. So, there's plenty of meta about Bruce's brutality towards low-level criminals and discussions about whether Jason betrayed his own community with his initial actions as Red Hood or not, which left me musing on Stephanie Brown. Stephanie came up in at best a low-income family in Gotham. Her father was consistently in and out of prison, only briefly holding steady employment, and when he was home, he was violent toward both Stephanie and her mother. Crystal Brown was neglectful and a substance-abusing addict until Stephanie was about 15, and even then their relationship was quite messy, with Stephanie still forced into a parental role. She also escaped sexual assault as a child and was clearly traumatized by the event, and given her boyfriend, who got her pregnant, looked and lived a life that suggested he was significantly older than her, one could argue that she was also a victim of grooming. She specifically became the spoiler to take down her father permanently in order to protect her mother and to a lesser extent herself. Now, not everything was hunky-dory story-wise, as there were some writers who basically decided her actual motive was to impress Robin.
Is this some kind of twisted joke?
Fortunately, this only popped up every now and again, and she'd often try and seek out other team-ups and mentors elsewhere, and given it doesn't line up well with her initial character, I'm content to view it as an artifact of the writers, rather than natural inherent part of her character. Some other useful trivia about Stephanie's methods as a crime fighter can be seen in her first team-up with Batgirl long before she receives any training. In it, she has intimate knowledge and immediate understanding of criminal operations that can only come from self-study or experience, and at the end of it, both she and Cass take the money that would have gone to evidence and donate it to charity instead. One of her earlier team-ups with Robin and the then Green Arrow, investigating gun runners selling to kids, had her note she felt her community was neglected by the heroic community. She's also hinted at different times to have a strong dislike or general lack of faith in the police. But how does this go into her relationship with her community and criminals in general? Well, suffice to say, the relationship with them is bad. Her first time out of spoiler, she tries to murder her father and has to be talked down by Batman. She later reveals to Crystal she was doing this to protect her because she was tired of seeing Arthur come back and ruin their lives over and over again. She also used visitation rights when he was in prison to beat the hell out of him because he orchestrated her kidnapping and near-missed murder for money while the guards just let it happen.
Wow, what an asshole.
In one of her first team-ups with Robin, they fight criminals in a snow-covered building, and his cutting of the support beams leads them all to be buried under the snow. Robin insists on finding him and saving him because of the rules, while Stephanie suggests leaving him to die, dismissing him to the effect of, "I was poor, Daddy never loved me," etc. She only agreed that trying to save him was a good idea when they accidentally found a homeless woman and her child also buried. Later on, she didn't want to save a villain who managed to kidnap both herself and Robin from an exploding building. We also see her shrug off the prospect of accidentally killing a serial killer she was in combat with as Robin in one of the best Robin-Stephanie storylines. We need more of those. As Robin, she has a violent exchange with Penguin after he starts using children as gun runners, which hinted at wanting to wipe people like him off the map. When he was dismissive of ever facing charges because "I've got people for that," her rage and attack on him left Penguin absolutely terrified, and Batgirl needed to stop her from going further. Overall, her relationship to criminals in general was varying degrees of contemptuous, and she was quite comfortable with the prospect of doling out lethal punishment, though she never got the chance to do so on screen. I think her general attitude is best summed up as, yes, trauma and poverty suck, but it's no excuse to take it out on your community and hating those who do so, while holding those who profit off those circumstances in even greater contempt. I.e., she disdains petty criminals for victimizing their fellows, but she hates the kingpins who run everything. How intentional this was is up in the air, but it works really well for her character and gives her a dynamic and distinct view of the world and vigilantism, which I found really interesting. I'm not expert enough to say whether this is a realistic or positive response to her circumstances, but I certainly think it's a lot more nuanced than Batman's own brutality, even if one could argue it's potentially as problematic. Though that also breaches into the are we discussing in-universe or out-of-universe morality and messaging and so on, which are whole other video topics in of themselves. I just wanted a chance to discuss Stephanie because I think she's really interesting, and I hope you do too. And that's all. If you would like to support my work, please check out my Patreon linked below, or check out my Ko-fi to commission 3D models. Thanks for stopping by.